So we're moving back into our Sunday service. We just transitioned over so that we can show the service on our live stream. And like I say, although it's a lot of planning that goes on, we need to make sure that we're watching and responsive because they actually started about 5 minutes early this time. So from a scene perspective, we're using our rotations. So right now it's on rotation 4, showing the ways to give. And again, after that timer has elapsed, it'll go back to our rotation 1 and start the process over. So I just switched over to the medium camera shot. I think that right now that's going to give a little bit more focus. So we can keep it on that until we need to, and then we'll switch back to our rotation. Okay, now we're in service and we're switching over to a scene where I'm going to use a tight podium shot. So I'm going to say zoom podium transition. And we see that tight shot come in on our live stream. So that switching was done at the church level, changing our cameras there and having that affect what is showing on the live stream. And again, I have to be vigilant about what's going on because I know that there may be some change in settings because of the Black History Month programs that we have coming up, and it'll be probably some more speakers coming to that front podium area. And they're kind of set up a little bit off to the right, so I'm using the PTZ camera, and so I'm kind of move that a little bit so I can get them better in frame. And I'm gonna use on the EV side, I'm gonna use our main camera settings so that it is wider. And now he's shifted to the other side, so I need to move and be responsive to that. So we get to this point when we're doing tithes and offering. Again, I'll make sure that I select the EV scene, and then I'll click on the button that says ways to give rotation. And what that's going to do is bring up the ways to give QR code. I'll go ahead and back out the camera shot so that you see more of the sanctuary. And we'll let that go, and that gets us back into the rotation process. And again, it's going to go from this where it's on rotation 4, then it'll go to 1, 2, 3, and back through the sequence. So one thing that we want to be prepared for now is the scripture, because that's going to be coming up soon. So I can go ahead and click on the scripture scene to bring that up in the preview window. And again, the sample scripture that I had up there before is still showing. What I'll do now is hide it. So that's going to remove it from the screen. So now we're just waiting for the scripture to be given, and then we can go ahead and put it on the screen. Okay, now we're transitioning into our tight podium shot as the pastor comes up to get ready to do his sermon. So one thing that I do in this situation, once the pastor comes up, I'll go to the main screen over here, and I go to layers, and I have two sets of lower thirds. One's our main lower third, and another one includes the pastor's title on there as well. So I'll go in here and I'll click the eyeball to deactivate the main lower third, and then I'll click the pastor's to activate his so that it can be shown on the screen. Then I'll go ahead and transition over to that. Okay, so that gets us to where we can see the lower third, including the pastor's name. I do the same thing over here on the median scene. Okay, I'm gonna deactivate the main, and I'm gonna activate the pastors. Then I'm gonna leave that. I'm not gonna go ahead and transition to that one as of yet, but it's ready whenever I need it. Thirdly, I'll come down to our rotation, And I'm gonna make this change on rotation 1 and rotation 3. These are the ones that I show the lower thirds on. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna click on it. And here I see we need to make an adjustment on the height. So I'm gonna click on the scene. I'll come down to Christians United. That is the video feed coming in. I'm gonna unlock it so that I can move it. And then I'm gonna shift it down a little bit. Then I'm gonna lock it. And again, I'm gonna deactivate the main lower third. And then I'm gonna activate the pastor's lower third. That's on rotation 1. I'm gonna come down to rotation 3. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna deactivate the main, activate pastors. And so what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and click on rotation, and we're gonna put it back into that 4 scene rotation. Okay, so I'm getting Exodus 6 and 6 show. So I pulled up that scripture, got that transition over so that it's showing now in EVMUX. So now the people that's watching can see it. So he said that today is going to be Exodus 6, chapter 6, verse 6 and 7. So I made a note of that because that's going to come later. I'm going to get the text for this and actually include it in the live stream. So since he started moving a little bit more and stepped away from the podium, I went to the medium podium shot so that we can have a better chance of capturing him in the different positions that he may move to on the stage. So I stayed on the scripture screen to see if he was going to continue to read, but it looks like he may not be. So, okay, he's back to reading. So at this point, I have advanced the scripture to the 7th verse because that's going to be the next one that he gets into. I've also gone back to a wider shot for the inset live video screen because again he started moving a little bit more, and I'll make sure that I capture that. So these are really a combination of the camera movements that I'm doing at the church level that is feeding into EVMUX, and then the scripture side is what I'm doing in Bible Show, which is feeding into EVMUX as well. So we both have both of those elements coming together on this one scene. So we have the video from the church and then the local Bible Show scripture output that is feeding in as well. One thing to note about this, with the account that I have for EVMUX, it is doing ISO recordings of all of these inputs. So although right now I'm showing this composite screen that has the scripture and the live video, it is actually from the church level recording just the video itself. So I can have this by itself. So later on, if I want to edit and post it and compose the scene a different way, I can do that because I have just video saved separately. So that's one of the powers that we have here using EVMUX, and I'm using one of the business plans. Well, the Pro plan also gives you the ISO recording, but it gives you a lot of flexibility and allow you to put things together the way that you need to. So one thing I'm gonna go ahead and do now, I'm gonna go ahead and transition over to the full screen here. And if I need to jump back to the scripture, I can easily do that. Okay, so I see now that he has come down off the stage. So I'm gonna lower, I'm gonna put it back on the PTZ, and I'm gonna transition to that because then I can lower that camera shot to try to catch him wherever he is. So from this, I got that this is about the fourth cup, and that cup is praise. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and search for the scripture, and it's gonna bring me to Bible Gateway, and it's gonna give me Exodus 6:6 through 7, and I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna come over here and paste it into my Notepad plus plus. Then I have it so that I can work with it. Okay, what I'm gonna do now. So as I'm doing this, I'm still having to actively go back and make sure that I keep the cameras framed in the position that it should be for the live stream. But I'm also working on some additional information for the posting on YouTube. So what I'm gonna do is change from the generic CUC Vision morning worship and the date to one that is more representative of the actual service. So what I'm gonna do here, so that we can illustrate this, is I'm gonna open up a new studio monitor window. So I'm gonna bring this up so we can see what's going on here. As well as a vocal expression of our sin. The thing that I'm gonna do with the information that I just got, I can take the title and turn on KVM. I can come over here to the YouTube video. I can click on edit video, and I can change the title. So I'm gonna do that there, and I'm gonna do it in the description itself. And then also what I'm gonna do is come down and get the scripture and place that in as well. Then I'm gonna go ahead and save that, and it's gonna save it so that anybody who go back, who's looking at the service, they're gonna see this updated title. So it's gonna see that information. Okay, so we've gotten that done, got out of the way. So actually I want to jump back over to my regular live stream so I can make sure that I'm staying up to date with doing what needs to be done here. And so just like earlier in the process when I went in and changed the lower thirds to indicate the pastor, when I get close to the end of service, I'm going to go ahead and revert back to my other lower third that is general. And one reason I do this is that so we're set up for the next service, and also at some point somebody else may come to the mic on the stage other than the pastor, and I don't want it to continuously have his name on there when we actually have a different person that's on the mic. So I'm gonna come over to main, and then I'm going to deactivate the pastor lower third, and I'm going to activate the main lower third. Do the same thing on the medium. Deactivate the pastors. Concerning this moment, right here, right now. And when we get to this point where he's actually doing the altar call, we do have a scene here for discipleship. And I switch to that, and it changes the lower third. It doesn't change anything as far as the video, but it changes the lower third and gives people instructions on what they need to do if they want to join the church, if they desire prayer. So that brings that to the screen. So while that's going on, I'm still going to go down and make my changes on rotation. Okay, so now we have somebody at the podium. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to that tighter shot. So again, this is the situation I was talking about where you'll end up with somebody other than the pastor that's up there. So that's why I want to change those lower thirds so that they're showing the right thing. So over here on rotation 1, I'm deactivating the pastors, activating the main. Rotation 3, I'm doing the same thing. I'm deactivating the pastors, activating the main. Okay, so while this is going on, the other thing that I'm doing, if I would jump back to my, so that you can see what I'm doing on the other computer, I brought up Canva, and I can go into Canva and I can make some changes. And so I'm going to change this to the fourth cup. And so I'm just going to change this to the fourth cup praise. And then I'm going to change the date on it because we have a date component on here that I made on this lower third. And that should be the 22nd. And then one thing that I kind of did here with these things is I think I did like a different color mask over the top of it. So I have a blue on here. And just so my thumbnails look a little bit different, from time to time, we want to make sure that we bring some different elements. I'm going to change this one. So instead of having a blue hue to it, I'm going to put let's see, I don't like that green. Okay, so I just did like a gradient here. He wants you to feel there's no way out. He wants you to feel that this will not help you. And so once I do this, I'm gonna go ahead and click on share and download. And I'm gonna download it as a JPEG. And then I'm gonna go ahead and download that. I'm gonna save that. And then again, I'm being mindful of what's going on in service. I want to go ahead and transition to a wider shot there. Okay, so we have that saved. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to jump back over to my live stream service. And I'm going to come over to the thumbnail. And I can change it. And it's going to allow me to go out and find the one I just downloaded. So I pull that in, and then I can say save. So at this point, I've really changed the content of what's shown on our live stream on YouTube. And I've done this during service while we were live. Okay. So if I click on this, I can actually, okay, I see the pastor step back to the podium. I'm going to go back to the tighter shot. Okay, so we're still on the discipleship screen. So I can go in and change that. If I want to bring my virtual buttons back up, I can do that. And then I can say, let's go ahead and switch over to rotation. And that makes that change. So we're back into that 4-screen rotation. So the one thing that we're going to get ready to do is at the end of the service, we do an outro. So if I click on outro now, it'll switch to it. And I don't want to do that. I want to go ahead and kind of show you what the outro looks like. So on the left here, you see the outro scene. And we will switch over to that at the appropriate time, show that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go ahead and click on the option to end service. We come today individual with individual praises. So again, these are things that we're doing to kind of automate and simplify our process so that things run smoothly. And it's not as much of a chore as it used to be to accomplish some of the things that needed to be done to facilitate our live stream service. And so what I usually would do here is to go and transition to a wider shot. And then I can go ahead and transition over to our outro. Okay, so I've done my outro. And then I'm going to click on the go live button. And this is just a toggle between going live at the beginning of service and ending the live stream at the end of service. So I'm going to click on that. And then it's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to start broadcasting. If it was done by mistake, I would just click on cancel. Or since I want to enter in the broadcast now, I'm going to click end broadcast. And then it's going to ask if I want to review the recording. And I'm just going to click do it later. We'll do that at a later point in time. And over on the Facebook side, it is stop the recording. Excuse me, on the YouTube side is stop the recording. And so I'm going to let this go ahead and run, but I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the main shot so I can again see what's going on in the sanctuary. Go over to the computer that is controlling everything. So here I am logged into my church computer. So what I want to do here, I'm coming in OBS. I'm going to go ahead and click on where it says stop virtual camera. Okay, so what that did was broke the connection between OBS and EVMux. So now I can close out OBS. Okay, and I see that they've turned off the mixer. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this full screen so it's a little bit easier to see everything. But the other thing that I'm gonna do over here on the church's computer is click on Chrome. And what's going on right here, since I'm doing the ISO recordings of all of the different inputs, it's telling me that it is saving that local recording so that I'll have it later. So it's going through the process. I don't want to close this window because otherwise it'll break that process of saving the recording. So it says, please do not leave this page. And I'm just going to click on where it says, I understand. Okay. And then I'm going to just go ahead and minimize this. And we're going to let this continue to run. So at this point, I'm finished with everything that I need to do from the church's computer. So I'm going to come over here since, again, I am operating in Chrome Remote Desktop to be able to access that computer. I'm go ahead and click on the fly out from there. And then I'm going to click on disconnect. So that's going to disconnect me from that computer and I can log into it later and do whatever I need to do. But from that perspective, we are done. We are done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close up this window. So I'm going to go ahead and close up this NDI studio monitor. So that just brings us back to where we're over here in EVMux. And as long as I see this little icon here flashing, that tells me that it's file saving processes that's going on. So I don't want to interrupt that. I'm going to go ahead and let that be. And I can go ahead and just minimize and get out of that so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So basically, that is, I would say 90% of what we need to do here.